Dulu, untuk memiliki perlindungan harus banyak perhitungan. Mulai waktu yang terbuang karena prosesnya yang nggak gampang, bahkan sampai harus bertemu banyak orang di lapangan. Jangan menjadi penonton dengan aksi yang monoton. Kini, saatnya BRINS hadir dengan transformasi digital dalam menjawab kebutuhan pasar. Dukungan teknologi digital dan kemampuan SDM yang handal adalah komitmen sebagai solusi perlindungan yang berkualitas dengan pelayanan yang mampu menembus batas.
Introducing the Ergopedic, the revolutionary adjustable bed from King Coil. Designed to be conveniently adjustable for your nightly and daily activities. Experience a whole new way to sleep and more with the King Coil Ergopedic.
Cuma rebahan tapi bisa bikin perubahan. Waktunya mulai bisa apa aja dari satu aplikasi. Mulai adaptasi cara bayar baru.
Bisa, kan pakai Kris, jadi mudah.
Mulai eksplorasi cara tarik tunai baru.
Ya bisa lah. Dengan mobile tunai, gak perlu ribet.
Mulai melihat potensi bisnis baru.
Bisa dong, transfer luar negeri cukup dari sini.
Yuk, buka tabungan BNI,
Cukup selfie.
dan aktifkan BNI Mobile Banking.
Mulai bisa apa aja sekarang.
Gak pakai nanti.
Kapan kita harus mulai? Mari tanyakan jam Mas Iqbal.
Tunggu hari baik.
1 Januari 2112.
Kali.
Berani mulai investasi sekarang.
Invest saham atau reksadana
Di satu aplikasi ajaib.
gampang buat yang baru berani mulai.
Aman lagi. Bisa meroket kapan aja. Yuk, saatnya berani mulai investasi saham.
Dan reksadana.
Ajaib, berani maju.
Sebagai perusahaan pembiayaan sekunder perumahan yang merupakan BUMN di bawah Kementerian Keuangan, SMF berperan sebagai fiscal tools pemerintah untuk menghadirkan rumah yang layak dan terjangkau bagi setiap keluarga di Indonesia. SMF memfasilitasi aliran dana jangka panjang menengah atau panjang dari pasar modal ke sektor perumahan melalui lembaga penyalur pembiayaan perumahan seperti bank, bank syariah, bank pembangunan daerah, dan multifinance untuk mendorong kepemilikan rumah yang layak dan terjangkau bagi setiap keluarga di Indonesia. SMF terus berinovasi dan memberi dampak bagi Indonesia.
Realisasi pendapatan asli daerah terus meningkat sebelum pandemi sehingga meningkatkan kemandirian daerah, di mana 50,65% penduduk yang didominasi generasi milenial dan Gen Z adalah potensi yang sangat penting dioptimalkan untuk menyambut era Society 5.0. Pemerintah Kota Malang tak henti-hentinya terus menata dan mempercantik wajah bumi Arema. Salah satunya penataan kayu tangan sebagai ibu kota heritage Malang Raya.
Here we are, a place for you to learn, find solutions, and develop knowledge and skills in business and management. We provide you with the methodology of case study prevalent in the academic and business world. So if you want to be fast, sharp, and relevant in business management, believe in yourself, believe in us, because now is your time.
Di ini.
Roda kehidupan terus berputar. Perubahan perilaku dengan segala kondisi membuat banyak orang semakin pintar. Kecepatan dan kemudahan adalah kunci dalam menjawab kebutuhan pasar. Dulu, untuk memiliki perlindungan harus banyak perhitungan. Mulai waktu yang terbuang karena prosesnya yang nggak gampang, bahkan sampai harus bertemu banyak orang di lapangan. Jangan menjadi penonton dengan aksi yang monoton. Kini, saatnya BRINS hadir dengan transformasi digital dalam menjawab kebutuhan pasar. Dukungan teknologi digital dan kemampuan SDM yang handal adalah komitmen sebagai solusi perlindungan yang berkualitas dengan pelayanan yang mampu menembus batas.
Kapan kita harus mulai? Mari tanyakan jem Mas Iqbal.
Tunggu hari baik.
1 Januari 2112.
Kali.
Berani mulai investasi sekarang.
Invest saham atau reksadana
Di satu aplikasi ajaib.
gampang buat yang baru berani mulai.
Aman lagi. Bisa meroket kapan aja. Yuk, saatnya berani mulai investasi saham.
Dan reksadana.
Ajaib, berani maju.
Ajaib.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Cek mikrofon, Om Rudi. Audio Om Rudi dicek.
Cek 1 2 3, 1 2 3.
Om Rudi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Kami ucapkan selamat pagi dan selamat bergabung dalam acara virtual Conference Indonesia Economic Outlook 2022 dengan tema Infrastruktur Fondasi Ekspansi Ekonomi. Dan hari ini adalah hari ketiga pelaksanaan acara virtual Conference Indonesia Economic Outlook 2022 yang akan dilaksanakan selama lebih kurang 4 hari dan akan dibagi menjadi 3 sesi dalam tiap harinya dengan pembahasan topik yang juga berbeda di tiap sesi. Dan acara ini diselenggarakan oleh BeritaSatu Media Holding dan pada kesempatan yang berharga ini saya Rudian Danu akan memandu acara ini. Izinkan saya untuk menyapa para pembicara, keynote speakers kita juga serta para narasumber kita di pagi hari ini. Ada Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, Menko Kemaritiman dan Investasi Republik Indonesia. Kemudian juga ada Bapak Heri Tri Saputra Zuna, Dirjen Pembiayaan Infrastruktur, Pekerjaan Umum dan Perumahan, Kementerian PUPR. Dan juga ada Mas Hari Gunarto di sini, Redaktur Senior dari Investor Daily. Ada Arif Suartono, Direktur Utama PT Pelindo. Andre Permana, Direktur Eksekutif Bisnis PT Penjaminan Infrastruktur Indonesia. Ada Yohanes Wahyudi Edward, Chief Strategy and Business Development Officer PT Steel Pipe Industry of Indonesia Tbk. Kemudian ada Pak Kusman Yandi, Wholesale and Transactional Banking Director PT Bank Syariah Indonesia Tbk. Dan pemirsa, untuk mengawali acara hari ini kita akan sama-sama untuk menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya. Kami mohon baik, terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu, disilakan untuk duduk kembali. Bapak dan Ibu, untuk memulai acara kita di pagi hari ini, pertama saya akan memohon Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, Menko Kemaritiman dan Investasi Republik Indonesia, untuk memberikan sambutannya. Waktu dan tempat disilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Seluruh peserta Indonesia Ekonomi Outlook 2022 yang berbahagia. Dalam 2 tahun terakhir ini, kinerja perekonomian berbagai negara dunia termasuk Indonesia bergantung pada kondisi penanganan pandemi COVID-19. Negara yang mampu mengendalikan kasus COVID-19 akan tumbuh lebih cepat dibandingkan dengan negara yang kasusnya tidak terkendali. Kenaikan kasus COVID-19 akibat varian Delta yang terjadi sejak pertengahan Juni berdampak besar terhadap perekonomian Indonesia. Namun kita bersyukur kita berhasil secara cepat menurunkan kasus dan mengendalikannya dengan tingkat yang rendah, menyebabkan pemulihan ekonomi berjalan dengan cepat. Kita saat ini berada pada posisi level 1, tetapi kita tidak boleh jumawa dengan posisi ini, karena apa saja bisa terjadi kalau kita tidak disiplin. Jadi kata kunci di sini adalah kita semua harus disiplin, mematuhi arahan guidance dari pemerintah. Kalau kita lihat, jika dibandingkan dengan puncak kasus pada pertengahan Juli yang lalu, di mana kasus harian mencapai lebih dari 56.000 dan kasus aktif lebih dari 570.000, kasus harian dan aktif nasional sudah turun sebesar lebih 99%. Angka reproduksi efektif RT juga sudah di bawah 1, menunjukkan terkendalinya pandemi 19 ini. Terkendalinya kasus COVID-19 dan pembukaan ekonomi yang dilakukan secara bertahap mampu menahan perlambatan ekonomi pada triwulan 3 lalu. Meskipun melambat dibandingkan dengan triwulan 2 sebesar 7,1%, tetapi realisasi triwulan 3 sebesar 3,5%, lebih tinggi dari perkiraan awal kami sebelum PPKM diterapkan. Penurunan yang terjadi pada konsumsi RT, investasi, industri pengolahan juga lebih rendah dibandingkan dengan periode PSBB yang lalu. Dengan kata lain, penanganan kita dalam Delta varian ini atau dengan PPKM ini lebih bagus dari penanganan kita lakukan PSBB yang lain. Karena tentu kita sudah belajar dari masalah-masalah yang lalu. Ini juga menjadi penting buat kita semua karena saat ini indeks keyakinan konsumsi Oktober 2021 berada pada tingkat tertinggi di masa pandemi, yakni mencapai 113,4 dengan skala nilai optimis lebih dari 100%. Ini angka yang tadinya kami tidak duga begini bagus, tapi kami juga bahagia ternyata bangsa ini mampu menyelesaikan masalahnya keterpurukan kita dalam pandemi COVID-19 tadi. Keyakinan konsumen yang meningkat mendorong masyarakat kembali melakukan aktivitas ekonomi. Data mobilitas yang dipantau oleh Google yang kami pakai, Google dan NASA, menunjukkan mobilitas masyarakat telah berada.
Google and NASA showed that the public mobility, community mobility is reaching the pre-pandemic level. And the same goes with, especially in tourism activities and also in manufacture activities. Indonesian manufacture had the highest expansion in October and one of the best in the Asian region. We have controlled COVID-19 for the past 125 days. Other countries had better records with 169 days, for example. So we need to remain vigilant. We need to remain disciplined and maintain this number, especially in the run-up to the 25th, the run-up to the Christmas and New Year's holiday. And the president is going to announce the decision as to the movement restriction in the coming days. In the fourth quarter, I believe this growth will continue, and we hope that in 2022, the economy is projected to grow by 5.5%. And this year, we can grow around 4%. To expand the economy, we have to control the COVID-19 and keeping it at a low level so that we no longer need to impose strict mobility restrictions. So because we use Peduli Lindungi application, we are now able to open more and more of our manufacture. We can open it to 100%. So I would like to thank restaurants and malls who have taken part, who had contributed to the controlling of this COVID-19 using the Peduli Lindungi application. Going forward, we need to continue to examine ourselves to make sure that we don't transmit the disease to others, and other people cannot transmit the disease to us. So we should not be emotional. We should not have prejudice. What we need to build is trust. Please believe that the government will not impose policies that will harm the people. The government has taken a very cautious approach for the Christmas and New Year's holiday, learning from the experience of last year's Christmas and New Year's holiday that had caused a spike that slowed down the economy. So to achieve a higher economic growth, we hope that 80% of the population will be vaccinated by the end of the year. And with the widespread use of Peduli Lindungi, I am confident that we will be able to control COVID-19 so that we might further expand our economy. We know that there is a medication prepared for COVID-19, and our government is now working with Merck and Pfizer to develop these medications in Indonesian industry. These are some of the aggressive steps that the Indonesian government had taken in the health department. Another key to maintain the economic expansion is to transform the Indonesian economy. I'd also like to share that the downstreaming of natural resources is key in the supply chain of developing the e-vehicle battery industry. We have also talked about nickel and oil. We've also talked about cobalt and tin. So in these four metals, if we can become world players in these 4 minerals in mining metal, then it would be a great improvement to our industry. In Indonesian steel export had reached $19.5 billion, and by the end of the year, it will reach almost $21 billion. I think this is a great achievement that has a significant contribution to Indonesian foreign exchange reserves. In the third quarter of 2021, we have managed to maintain a positive trade balance, and with the monetary and fiscal policies that we enact in 2022-2023, we hope that this will further improve the economy. Some of more downstreaming industries are going to be further developed, and following our trip to the UK, we have developed further more cooperation. We will produce precursors that we will export to the UK. We not only work with China, we are working with the UK. We work with Abu Dhabi. They will bring the aluminum industry to Indonesia. There will be parts manufacturing in North Kalimantan that will soon be opened by the president. And this is all propelled or powered by green energy. The government has forged investment agreement with other countries, including the United Arab Emirates, with a commitment of $44 billion in various departments, in various sectors, through Indonesian Sovereign Rail Fund, because this is a credible source of investment. We continue to streamline the permit processing as part of the job creation law mandate. And through this, the government is optimistic that we will be able to improve the investment climate in Indonesia and draw more investors to Indonesia. In closing, learning from our experience in controlling the COVID pandemic, the government will be able to support the Indonesian economy to continue its expansion through downstreaming of natural resources and continuous improvement in the investment climate. Indonesia will be able to recover from the pandemic. The way we mitigate COVID-19 is proof that we are able to solve one of the biggest crises in this area, in this country. In this region, only India, China, Japan, Taiwan, and Korea are on level 1 caution. New Zealand is now in level 2, Australia level 3. So we are a big country. We should not belittle our own efforts. A lot of countries had appreciated and praised us for our COVID mitigation efforts. And if we can manage and solve this complex matter, then if we can work together and we can help each other, we will be able to bring Indonesia forward under the leadership of President Joko Widodo. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So that is the opening remark from the Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment Affairs, Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Pak Heri Zuna, Pak Heri Trisaputra Zuna, will be speaking on behalf of Minister of Public Works and Housing to speak and to give the keynote speech. First of all, I would like to extend Mr. Basuki Hadimulyono's, the minister's apology for not being able to be here in person to give the keynote speech. And I'm going to read his the speech that he has prepared for this event. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, and good morning. To Mr. Promis Dorimulu, the panelists and participants of the Indonesian Economic Outlook 2022 participants. First of all, let us praise God for His continued blessing that had allowed us to meet today on the 24th of November in the Indonesian Economic Outlook 2022 virtual conference to discuss the direction of Indonesian infrastructure development. Let me appreciate BeritaSatu Media Holding and all stakeholders involved in the organizing of this event. Even though this event is still organized online, I hope that this does not in any way reduce the significance of this event. We know that in 2020 and 2021, all the countries in the world, including Indonesia, have experienced the impact of COVID-19. The Indonesian economy had a plunging drop in its economic growth by -5 in the first quarter, but it had soared to 7% in the second quarter, the highest in many years in the country. And even though the number had dropped to 3.5 in the third quarter, we have been able to maintain the positive growth. Agriculture, consumption, infrastructure, and manufacturing also continues to score positive growth. Infrastructure is a crucial part of economic growth because we provide basic services necessary by the public to improve their living quality and livelihood. In producing, it increases productivity and ability for people to meet their demands. In the 5-year midterm planning, we focus on the following development aspects. First, human resource development and infrastructure development and streamlining of regulation and simplification of bureaucracy and economic transformation. In developing in infrastructure development, we prioritize the following issues on our midterm plan. To support food resiliency, we have built 61 dams and irrigation network. To cut down on logistics cost, we built 3,200 national road. We plan to increase access to drinkable water to 100% and livable housing by 90%. And we also seek to build sport and education facilities. We plan to continue the provision of 1 million livable houses through financing access. In 2021, the challenges we had to refocus our budget, but this had not reduced our performance in building the Indonesian infrastructure. To support the food resilience, we have built 61 dams, and in 2020 we finished building 14 buildings, dams. And in this year, we finished building 17 buildings, including the Karalun Dam in Goa, South Sulawesi, which had been opened by President Joko Widodo. In 2020, we have built 11,000 irrigation network, and we have also rehabilitated 58,000 irrigation network. And in 2021, we plan to finish 17,000 irrigation network, and we rehabilitate 6,000 irrigation network. To support connectivity, we have operated 246,000 kilometers of toll roads, and we have built 123 out of 190 toll roads. We have built 460 kilometers of national road, and in 2021, we will finish building 800 kilometers of national road. Using the public to private partnership in 2021, we realized 4 projects through the signing of MOU in Riau road building, and then cashless toll road transaction in Sentul worth 4.4 trillion rupiah, and Jatiluhur project worth 61 trillion, and other projects worth 21 trillion. In this fourth quarter, we have another PPP projects, which is duplications of bridges in Java with an investment of 2.36 trillion. Ladies and gentlemen, to support the goal of 2022 infrastructure development, we focus on economic recovery and structural reform with 7 national priorities. Infrastructure direction for 2022 will focus on optimization of maintenance and operation of facilities, rehabilitation, preservation, and revitalization of infrastructure facilities, and infrastructure for disaster preparedness, and infrastructure to support national strategic plans, and to support economic recovery through various projects, and to provide land for development of infrastructure. With a budget of 105 trillions, our targets include the development of 32 dams, the building of irrigation network, the development of bridges, preservation of bridges by 116,000 meters, and the building of apartment units, apartment buildings. In 2022, we have started strategic projects, including 6 new dams in Cijure, Cibeet in West Java, Kedung Langgar, and Kolua in East Nusa Tenggara. We have also built a flood control network in Bogowonto. We will also build Manado Outer Ring Road, the 3rd in North Sulawesi, and Membramno Elelim in Papua. We're also building bridges and flyovers, including the Buton Kalarik Bay in Riau Islands and flyovers. We plan to finish various infrastructure projects, including the nine dams in Ciawi, Sukamahi, Marga 3, Sadawarna, Lola, and Semanto. We also plan to finalize the building of 421 kilometer of toll road, including the Simpang Indralaya Muara Enim, 64 kilometers, Section 2 of Semarang Demak Toll Road, 16 kilometers, and Section 2 of Ciawi Sukabumi, 12 kilometers. Ladies and gentlemen, that is everything that I can share with you on this occasion, and I hope that this forum will allow us to get a glimpse of the infrastructure development in the coming year. Support from domestic and foreign investors is crucial for the achievement of the targets that I have shared with you. Let us hope that God will continue to give us His blessing to ensure Indonesia's further development. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jakarta, November 23rd, 2021. Minister of Public Works and Housing, Muhammad Basuki Hadi Mulyono. Thank you. Thank you, Pak Hari Zuna. I think this is very interesting what Pak Heri had shared. There are a lot of infrastructure projects that are ongoing and that are going to be achieved, that are going to be finalized. We have Pak Heri and then we have Pak Hari Gunadi. Do you have anything to say to Pak Heri? Thank you, Pak Heri. You said that refocusing of budget. So even though the government had spent a lot on economic recovery, infrastructure continues to be one of the highest priority. So for next year, the government has allocated 380 trillion for infrastructure alone. So is there any cut to that budget through the refocusing? Of course, but through refocusing, there is limited there is a drop in the value of the budget, but we will continue to try to come up with the target. We will continue to try to achieve the target through various measures. So we notice a large gap in the infrastructure. If I'm not mistaken, in the next 5 years, the private sector has a 40% share in the development of infrastructure. So how is the government going to encourage or promote private development of infrastructure? In the development planning, the state budget can only support about 30 to 37% of infrastructure funding or financing. So we invite the private sector and the state-owned companies to fill up the rest. So this will depend on the investment climate, how to make this investment opportunity lucrative for the private sector, and we also have to streamline and the investment process and accelerate it. And equally important is the preparation, because the funding gap can only be filled out if we are prepared with credible projects. So the funding gap should be transformed into pipeline. In the ministry, this pipeline is usually in the development of toll road and national road, and also the refurbishment of bridges. So they will first, these private companies will change or refurbish bridges in Java that are 40 years old and over, and then the government will pay them once they finish the refurbishment, and this will open the opportunity. This will give us the opportunity to accelerate the building of the infrastructure development. And I think along with the property development and other infrastructure, I think the private sector has a lot of opportunity to help the government in realizing the infrastructure development plan. Now, before we continue, as we have listened in the exposition from Mr. Heri Trisaputra, we're also going to talk about the acceleration of infrastructure development in Indonesia. But next, let's have a photo session of all the panelists and keynote speaker. I'm going to start counting. The organizers will take the photo. So let's count 3, 2, and 1.
We will repeat again. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, we will continue with the discussion. And here we have several panelists, and we will talk about how to accelerate infrastructure development year 2022. And the audience could also convey their questions by typing in their question and also state to whom they address this question in the chat box or in the Q&A. And we sincerely hope that you could stay with us until the end, because at certain point in this session, we will show you a barcode, and the function of that barcode is the committee has provided several door prizes for the audience. So you have to wait for the barcode to appear. And now I would like to invite Pak Hari Gunarto, the Senior Editor of Investor Daily, to become our moderator. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and also our panelists. Hope all of you are healthy. Here, I would like to invite Bapak Arif Suhartono, the Managing Director of PT Pelindo, to convey his presentation. We know that Pelindo have done a lot of things, and we have Pelindo 1 until Pelindo 4, but all of that merge into one Pelindo. And this is a merging of all the strength that Pelindo has. The floor is yours, sir. God's blessings be upon us all. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to greet the Honorable Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, the Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment, and also Bapak Heri Zuna, representing the Ministry of Public Works and Public Housing. And how much time do I have? 12 minutes, sir. All right, then. In 12 minutes, I would like to inform you how the seaport could participate in national infrastructure development. Now, here, I would like to show you that the national logistical cost is high in Indonesia compared to other countries. Now, here, we realize that there are similarities and differences because Indonesia is an archipelago and we have distinct features. But here, the cost is 23%, and from the survey conducted by World Bank, here, from the 23%, here, 8.9% from the inventory, and 2.8 from water. Now here we divide into port and shipping. And here, roughly around 5% located for shipping. But here we also have land transportation and inventory. And when we talk about port logistic, we play an enormous role. If the port could operate optimally, then it could support the industry sector. And land transportation could be more efficient as well. The data here, 8.9% inventory and 8.5% land, shows how important it is to connect all of the sectors. Here, I would like to convey information regarding the supply chain. From the first mile until the last mile, or the whole supply chain. And then here, what usually happens, the product requires raw material, but not originated from that particular region. So we have to ship or transport the raw material and then assemble there or produce there. And here we have issue regarding low performance port. Because here we not necessarily talk about single port. Maybe in Jakarta they have single port, but in other regions it's not single port. And it's like we're talking about egg and chicken, which comes first. Here, what happened here is we need to strengthen point to point so that we could use lesser vessel. So we don't have to compare big vessels and small vessels. No, it has its own functions. And then land transportation. We want to make it efficient as well. I know that there are several ports who are not connected well enough. We have Kalibaru Port, Tanjung Priok Port, and the design depth is -20, and we drange so that it's -16. And if there's demand from big vessel, we could deepen that until -20. But what about the connectivity? How those ports are connected with hinterland? Now we only have one access, the south access, and they are linked directly with the road, and the size is limited. And at the end, at certain times or rush hour, the traffic is unbearable. So here, we're also grateful to the Ministry of Public Works because we want to develop the east access. And once the access from the east side is completed, it will help tremendously because it will be connected with the toll road in Chilincing region. And here, we are deeply grateful to the Ministry of Public Works because they helped us to optimize our port usage so that you could work optimally. We know that similar condition experienced by other ports like in Makassar and in Medan, but with good cooperation and communication, we could reduce this inefficiency. And then the role of ports and other stakeholders. Now, here we have port of loading and port of discharge. Now, this is the role of port from the supply chain. And then, if we simplify things, the port could ease the logistic process. Now, here, we want a better role of our ports. But what currently happens, we only have two functions, port of loading and port of discharge, and how the port could help in terms of logistical costs. We want to shorten the port stay and also shorten the cargo stay. So we want the vessel to stay at the minimum time at port. We don't want them to stay longer than they have to. So the sailing time should be increased. So here we want to give more opportunity for them to discharge or unloading the cargo as soon as possible. And then here are the steps that we could do to enhance the port stay and cargo stay. And that's why the merge of Pelindo helped a lot. In the past, we have Pelindo 1 until 4, and each of Pelindo have its own capability. And it also provide different services. And when we talk about logistical distribution, we have to use container. And in Indonesia, we only have 4 or 5 major players in container. But at that time, we have different authorities. And as mentioned earlier, we have merged Pelindo 1 until 4. And we have a priority program, which is to standardize our operation. And that could lead to a more stable operation. Why? Because shipping business is stable. So we must maintain our good performance so that shipping lines could carefully plan their operation and scheduling using Windows system. Now, this is the expansion of our port capacity. And of course, we need to maintain our performance. If we have reached certain point, then we need to expand as well. We try to optimize several of our units. We don't want to expand, but the existing capacity is not yet maximum. So here, we want to invest more. And here we are linked with the industrial complex. And again, we are grateful with the support from the government because their support is essential. And then for strategic partnership, we expand this so that it could increase our performance. And we also exchange experiences from the global players. And then the minister mentioned this earlier. Indonesia almost returned to its original condition back in 2019 before the pandemic. Now the left side figures, the light blue is from October year 2020 and the dark blue is October this year. And here we have like the distribution and the traffic of vessels, cargo, passengers, and container. And here we see there's an increasing traffic. And as mentioned by the minister, we are getting closer to the condition before the pandemic started. And then regarding standardization, we must have one. And because we want to give optimum services so that the cargo stay could be shortened. Now, below are the positive impact for stakeholders. We have the terminal, and here we want to assist our partners so that they could minimize their logistical costs. And then here are several projects that are ongoing. On the top side, Kijing Terminal is a terminal, and it substitutes the Pontianak port because Pontianak is in the form of river, and river, as you know, have different characteristics. And the river in Indonesia is not as wide as Chinese river. That's why the vessel could only maneuver in a limited condition. And here, there are ports located in the middle of the city. So it will affect many things. So here, for our ports located inside the city, makes it difficult for us to expand further because the land has become a public land and it's difficult to expand it. And in West Kalimantan, we want to expand the connection between Pontianak and Singkawang because Mempawah is located in the middle. And with this port, the industry sector give positive response. Before this, Inalum Group already have a smelting factory there, and there are also CPO factory and fertilizer factory about to come in there as well. And for CPO, we want to establish downstream facilities for them. And this will also create lots of job employment. And then number 3, Teluk Lamong, located in Surabaya. Now here, in the past, they often experience drought. And then 5, Makassar New Port. Here, we want to answer the challenges from their existing condition. This port is quite deep, -16, and this could become the anchor port in the eastern part of Indonesia. And then number 1, Bali Maritime Tourism Hub, located in Benoa. Now we want this port to be able to accept cruise ship, yacht, and the location is very strategic so that in the near future, a lot of cruise vessels and yacht could dock there. And then in Tanjung Priok and Kalibaru, currently, we are expanding those ports for Terminal 2 and 3. So here, we designed it to have -20, and it is linked directly with the toll road so that we don't use the public road. And this will make it easier regarding the accessibility directly to the toll road. And then Kuala Tanjung. This is located in Sumatra. And so you have 1.5 minutes. And this will complement Belawan Port. Next. This is how we connect the port and the industrial complex. So we have to maintain good access between the port and the industrial complex. And at the end, we want to make efficient costs and other expenses. I guess that is all from my side. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pak Arif Suhartono, the Managing Director from Pelindo. You mentioned that there are operational standardization and you want to shorten the cargo stay, and you mentioned that it will create a multiplier effect, and with this expansion you will attract new investors. And you also mentioned that there will be more ports connected with industrial complex. Now, what sort of collaboration that you have? Well, each entity have their own domain. Like we are responsible for the port. And here, what is important is to connect hinterland and the port is good. Meaning, we have to work together. And then hinterland could take advantage of the traffic. So we want to have light industry centers to have close proximity with the port. And of course, we want to give a lot of benefit to the industrial complex, and they could also generate traffic to us. So this close connection is crucial. I guess that is all. Okay, thank you. And now I would like to invite the second panelist, Bapak Andre Permana, the Executive Director of Indonesia Infrastructure Insurance. Now here, we understand that we need insurance when we are dealing with government projects. Now I invite you to convey your presentation. Yes, thank you, Pak Hari Gunarto, for the opportunity. Allow me to greet all of our panelists and ladies and gentlemen of the audience. God's blessings be upon us all. First of all, thank you to BeritaSatu Media Holding for inviting me to speak in this Economic Outlook Year 2022. And indeed, this will be the indicator where all business people could see and gain a lot of insights. And here, we hear from previous remarks from the ministers, and we have with us also Pak Johannes Edward, Pak Kusmaniandi, Pak Destiawan, and Pak Arif. Now, regarding the national infrastructure, there are several points and they are related with the points conveyed by previous speakers. And in order to provide solution towards limited capability of the government in financing infrastructure projects, we are committed to assist the government. And here, the Ministry of Finance have creative financing, where they mentioned that they don't have to finance this alone. They could also collaborate with other partners that has the capability to finance many infrastructure programs. And as mentioned by Pak Arif, for infrastructure programs that are long-term and involving high risks, then this is where we come in. And we could be an option to assist them when they are dealing with regulation, legal certainty. So here, we could provide solution so that the infrastructure development could be sustainable and give the utmost benefit to the public. So here, our company is called as Vision Vehicle, and the grand context is to accelerate the infrastructure development. And the government have 100% ownership of our agency, and we are focusing on various infrastructure. As you see on the right, there are 6 pillars in our mandate. is to provide infrastructure insurance for KPBU. This is our first mandate because we are the implementer of the policy, infrastructure policy. So only the single authority for KPBU appointed by the Ministry of Finance. And then the second mandate is the direct lending insurance for state-owned enterprises. And here I would like to also inform Pak Arief that perhaps you are interested to have a multilateral collaboration when you're about to develop or create new ports. We could definitely assist you here. And then we also provide insurance for corporate players. And then we also provide insurance for national strategic program. And then we also have a mandate to have a high capacity building regarding infrastructure financing. And Pak Hari mentioned, then if we want to have a good project, then we must have credible investors and we must prepare other relevant factors as well. And then we will see how far the added value that we could bring into the table. So first, from the lender side or investor side, this is one of the mitigation that we are doing. Our company could give the added value, how the project could be bankable, because project could be signing an agreement, but when it's still searching for funding, it could be difficult. So here we also assist with the risk management, transparency issues, and sustainability in any infrastructure project. And here we also want to allocate risk in an optimum manner. And then on the right side, we see the growth of our agency in providing security. And we notice that the gap is still huge. And here we have a roughly 18% growth annually. And we also have insurance ratio, and it is limited to 10 times over that. And if we have more projects, of course, the rating could increase. And we have AAA rating or BBB international rating from Finch. And here we have a total equity more than 13 trillion rupiah. And then we could also see the distribution of our project. So far, we assisted 36 projects, and the total project value exceeds 350 trillion rupiah. And we will receive 3 additional projects worth more than 70 trillion. So overall, the total project would be over than 400 trillion. And then here we operate in 5 sectors, plus there are also direct lending from state-owned enterprises and PEN programs. So here we cover tourism sector. For example, we have involved in Mandalika Superbike Championship in NTB. So here we work together with the Ministry of Finance, and then we also assisted with the electricity project, telecommunication project, and multifunction satellite operation. And then we are involved also in the drinking water facility sector, and then transportation, the toll road and non-toll road. And then furthermore, we also assisted with the train program in Sulawesi and also airport project in Labuan Bajo, NTT. And this project will expand and covering many sectors as well. And then other project that we have in our pipeline. From the transportation sector, we continue with the airport development, and then from the waste management, we are assisting with the regional and the city government. And with the drinking water facility, we work together with PAM and also with energy conservation sector and public work and housing. Like we have the vertical housing project, irrigation project, and others. So, and this add to our portfolio. And at the end of this year, we covered 30 projects, and hopefully we could have an increasing number of projects. And here it is due to our synergy and good collaboration with various partners. Here, we also see the challenges and opportunities in infrastructure financing. We see that there is still massive opportunity, and government insurance is also one of the fiscal tools. We could prepare the project development facility. We would provide the viability payment, and we also have sister company, SME. So these are the initiatives that are quite complete, and we could answer the challenges faced by our partners if they are looking for feasibility side of their project. And then bankability issue. There are many greenfield projects and they use different schemes, such as they have to adjust the scheme with their risk portfolio. And especially for new projects, not yet robust, then we could help them, especially with the regulation. And then Pak Kusmanyadi later on from BSI could also mention about the risk profile relating with our project. And then we also deal with interface risk, because sometimes some of the projects are funded by the national budget and currently experience a contraction. And here we realize that there are certain tools that are lacking, such as certain condition in the national budget that reduce the fiscal ability. And on the other hand, we are certain that we could overcome certain challenges. And also, because we are still in the midst of pandemic, we have to also bear in mind the certain condition and uphold health protocol. Now, these are several initiatives. So we are not only providing insurance, but we also strengthen the ecosystem. And we also work together with other government offices, and we strengthen the regulation and work with various regional government offices. And on the right side, we also have a role as project enabler and financing enabler. And we also release several initiatives. For example, we have a joint monitoring committee to oversight certain risks associated with the projects. And we also have Sharia financing scheme. On the left side, we collaborate with various academic institutions like UNIT. We collaborate with overall 35 universities all across Indonesia, and the number is growing. And we're the only agency that have accredited for SIGIT TRIFI, the global certification. And we also engage in collaboration with various international organizations like MIGA, KIAT, and JICA. And KIAT is an initiative from DFAT, Australian government, and JICA from Japanese government. And here we want to strengthen the KPBU scheme. I guess that is all from my side. Hopefully I do not exceed the time frame. So I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you. Thank you, Pa Andre, for the presentation. We know that BE have 6 mandates, and you also have instruments to mitigate the risk from various projects. And you handled almost all strategic projects. Now, I have a question, sir. For project insurance, is it mandate, or do you offer them to project, or does the project owner come to you? And here, if a project is come to a halt or stuck, then how can you assist in this case? Yes, thank you for the question. First, regarding our 6 mandates, for the insurance, we have 4, actually. First, for the KPBU, it's not based on the task or duty that we have. We use the window policy. And we have mandate to manage the financing scheme. So we receive the proposal from BGPK, the PIC of government project. And usually the potential investor, once they involve in consultation and BGPK from the government or the regional government or the ministry could suggest to us to be involved in this project, and we then review the project. And then other types, it is based on the task or duty where the Minister of Finance instructed us to be involved in a particular project. And here, the Minister of Finance would ask us to be the main insurer or the guarantor. And we use first loss basis scheme because we also have a job to be risk fencing to safeguard the national budget. I guess that is all. And if the project comes to a halt, then we must make sure that that doesn't happen. So when we give a guarantee, and in order to be effective, we need to prepare the project, see the scheme comprehensively, see if it is feasible and bankable as well. So we want to identify the risk allocation of that particular project. If it's balanced, then that project will run smoothly. If not, then usually it would come to a halt. And during implementation, we monitor them closely because we are a part of the joint monitoring committee. So we will work with them along the way. That is all from my side. Thank you. So with your involvement, then you could ensure that the project will not come to a halt. Yes, we do the best we can. All right, that's very interesting. And now I would like to invite Bapak Johannes Edward, Chief Strategy and Business Development Officer from Steel Pipe Industry Indonesia, or SPINDO. Now, congratulations, you have 800% increase of profit. And now I give the floor to you, sir. 10 minutes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, and salam kebajikan. Greetings. Thank you especially for BeritaSatu for giving us the opportunity to share our presentation on the opportunities for steel industry and its subsidiary to support the infrastructure development. Also, my appreciation to the Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment Affairs, the Minister of Public Works and Housing, as well as the other panelists, Mr. Arif Suhartono, with which I have worked together. We are very proud to take part in the building of ports in Indonesia. In 1985, the UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher said that claims that we walk on the same road that is built by infrastructure. Infrastructure is a long-term investment to guarantee sustainable economic growth. And on this occasion, let's limit the definition of infrastructure to the physical infrastructure, as Pak Arif had said earlier. We have seen direct correlation between infrastructure and growth of regional economy. So a good infrastructure will improve Indonesian competitiveness in the global market. In the competitive index in 2020, in 2029, Indonesia stood at 50th place out of 114th place worldwide. We are at 109 in terms of road. So infrastructure is still a very weak point in our competitiveness. This shows that we have a great potentials by accelerating the infrastructure development. So through steps like merger and streamlining processes, we hope to be able to accelerate this infrastructure development. And steel has a great contribution to the infrastructure development because 40% of steel is consumed in infrastructure development. We notice that Indonesia has a very low consumption of steel, so only 59 kilos in various products by 2019. This is only better by a little margin from Myanmar. We fall behind Malaysia with 89 kilo, Singapore, Thailand 214 kilos, and Vietnam. The steel industry, the mother of industry, has played a very significant contribution to the economy. The Oxford economists noted that the steel industry provided 6 million job opportunities worldwide and provided added value to other industries that use steel. So they get additional value of $3 trillion and 96 and opens 96 job opportunities worldwide, all these industries that are related to the steel industry. So it is important for us to give attention to the steel industry as one of the main pillar of infrastructure development. To quote Mr. Syarif Burhanuddin in a workshop to develop steel industry in Indonesia, steel manufacturers should unite to develop steel industry in Indonesia and to build partnership with the government and guarantee institutions and other finance institutions to create a unified front. The Indonesian market, steel market, is very lucrative for foreign players because imported steel will, of course, undermine the Indonesian steel industry, especially those imported using unfair practices. For example, products that do not comply with the Indonesian standards. So, for example, unregulated import of pipes and also imports of parts containing steel that are not that are already produced domestically. There is also a difference between carbon steel and stainless steel. And Indonesia's export of stainless steel and carbon steel has contributed to the Indonesian trade surplus. And it is necessary, therefore, for the government to create a good impression of the industry and to allow the upstream steel industry to grow accordingly. By the government support, with the government support, it is hoped that a consistent import restriction will increase the percentage of local content in manufacturing, and we also require help in increasing steel export, a practice that had been applied in other countries. We have consistently exported since the 90s to the US and Canada. This is thanks to certification UL and UM. And with the steel export disparity, we have a great opportunity to increase our export to Western countries. So we are exporting welding steel. The problem is in the standardization of steel products, because steel use requires standards in safety and quality and strength. And we still see products that are sold that are under qualified or under standards, and this will of course be damaging to the users. So our industry is committed to provide quality products that comply with certification standards to curb such unfair and illegal practices of selling unregulated steel practices, we require government policies. So for example, if we don't regulate this use of substandard steel, we might, for example, see roof coming down because of the low quality steel. So it is necessary to support the steel industry to supply these niche for steel and to limit import of such steel products. Unfortunately, finance sectors still see steel industry as a less lucrative sector. But despite the difficulty, we have input from our other businesses, and it is our hope that this event and this exposition will help us to grow Indonesian steel industry with the help of investment. And for that, we are prepared to be very transparent about the state of our company. There is still a very significant room for steel industry to grow. The industry continues to do internal improvements since 2018, rising its profit margin from under 1 to 800% in last year. This isn't something that happened overnight, but something that we have continued to work towards since 2018. In 2022, we believe that next year is going to be very interesting with the international dynamic. And as the economy recovers, and judging by the consumer confidence index, we believe that the steel industry will going to enjoy the ripple effect of this growth. The economy is projected to grow by 5.2%. So what our next task is to expand in terms of sales volume and increase the export, as I have already said, and to expand domestic market, and to make sure that all domestic pipe needs can be met by our production. We have the moral obligation to educate the users of steel pipes to make sure that they no longer use substandard steel pipes. I'm sure that no one wants to be lied to, and it is hoped that by educating them, we would help the use of we would increase the use of standardized or certified steel products. To commemorate our anniversary, we are launching our plan to produce 600 tons of steel pipes to support oil and gas companies and other industries that use steel pipes in their business. So yes, happy golden anniversary tomorrow. I just have one question, Mr. Johannes. You said that in your recommendation, you said that there should be restriction of import and incentive for export in the upstream level. So I think we need several several factors. The simplest thing is the anti-dumping policy. There should be a policy against dumping. So there should be a quota of import as well. And then we need to work on an incentive to, for example, tax and levies restrictions or tax holidays, because there is a disparity in raw material prices in the region. So I think this is an opportunity for us. But before we go with the next speaker, Mr. Arif Suhartono would like to leave us because he has an urgent business to attend to. And next, we are going to listen to Mr. Kusmaniandi, Wholesale and Transaction Banking Director of PT Bank Syariah Indonesia Tbk, to speak to us about banking sector support for the infrastructure development. Thank you, Mr. Hari Gunarto, for the opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam sehat. I hope everyone is doing well. And I would like to extend my respect to the Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment Affairs, Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, and on behalf of the Minister of Public Works and Housing, Mr. Hari, and also Pak Yohanes and Pak Andre Permana. Pak Yohanes has been very excited and had given us a lot of insight, and our moderator, Pak Hari Gunarto. From Bank Syariah Indonesia, I would like to thank BeritaSatu for inviting us to this very important forum. My exposition relates to what Pak Gunarto said in banking support for infrastructure development. I think the operator did not hear my request for the next slide. Who's running my slide? Yeah, well, so who's running this? Is it from me, from my office, or from your place? Okay, so while waiting for the slides, let me just continue. We from the other speakers, we know that infrastructure financing is significant in terms of amount and in terms of its impact on the economic growth, because it helps with the movement of goods and people, and it impacts the costs of goods and services. Now, I'd like to quote a verse from the Quran, Al-Maidah, verse 2, which focuses on helping each other in doing good and avoid helping each other in doing evil. So I think this is very relevant because great deeds will create great impacts, and this is something that the government cannot do alone. It cannot be accomplished by the private sector alone. So every stakeholders should get involved in building the infrastructure, in developing our infrastructure sector. In Bank Syariah Indonesia, or BSI, this is a merging of 3 state-owned Syariah banks starting February 1st, 2021. The BSI was established in the hope of in the hope that the Indonesian people have a great and fundamentally strong Sharia bank. And this is the expectation of the government, because, and this is quite understandable, because we have over 200 million Muslim populations, as the biggest, the country with the biggest Muslim population in the world. BSI controlled an asset of 247 trillion rupiah. So it's the biggest, the top 7th biggest Sharia bank in the country. So our vision is to be one of the top 10 Sharia banks in the world in terms of market cap within the next 4 years. So I hope, so I'm really hoping for your support so that we might achieve the goal of having a Sharia bank that is on par with other global Sharia banks. For example, Oraji or Emirat Islamic Bank or Dubai Islamic Bank. And up to date, none of the top 10 biggest Sharia banks are Indonesian based. So we hope that by 2025, Indonesia would be able to be named one of the Sharia bank in the world, in the top 10 Sharia bank in the world. We also have the initiative to open our regional office next year in Dubai. And I hope that this will open an access for the government and national businesses to global investors for projects including infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, as of October 2021, on the top right corner, you can see that we have financed over 13 trillion or into infrastructure projects. So it's 8% of our total financing from our bank. On the bottom right, it shows the projects that we finance. So toll roads. So we are involved in the building of 7 toll roads with a value of investment of about 5 trillion. We also works with the power company, with the PLN or IPP or private power plants. We're also involved in the building of airports with BeritaSatu and with in Pelindo Satu in the building of harbors. In 2021, we have signed an agreement to support 5 infrastructure projects. 4 of them there is a funding gap of 4,060 trillion. The state budget can only support 37% of it. So there is a huge funding gap at around 63% of the budget needs. And if we can go back to the previous slide, this funding gap is distributed in the basic infrastructure, economic infrastructure, urban, and energy and power infrastructure. And this is due to the appetite for these infrastructure and the interest in investors in investing in these projects for the next few years. When we're talking about the prospects of challenges, let's talk about the prospects first. So we can see that the over 4,000 trillion funding gap opens the opportunity for banks to participate in the financing of infrastructure projects. This is a massive number involving various projects, and it can be adjusted to the needs of each particular banking. There are some sectors that have been not as impacted by the COVID pandemic. For example, the provision of drink water projects, and also projects relating to telecommunication. Telecommunication infrastructure will require a lot of steel, and we're also in the talks to financing telecommunication infrastructure. Another incentive for the banking sector to invest in infrastructure development is the PPP scheme that Pak Andre had spoken about earlier. And using the PPP scheme, we can increase the appeal of these projects to investors, because most of these infrastructure projects have about 10% appeal in terms of investment. In terms of challenge, we are aware of how the COVID pandemic had impacted or had influenced the development of infrastructure. And it has limited the amount of cash that we receive from our client, and this has limited our capability to select projects to support. And we hope that in future, in 2022, the conditions would be much improved. And then the second challenge is that for infrastructure company has a rising ratio leverage because companies have covenant publication in terms of banking agreement, and this limits the opportunity for banks to get involved in projects where with high ratio leverage. Maybe we have financing scheme that might be used for this, a product that we call Ijarah Muntahiyah Bitamlik, or IMBT. Oh, you have 1.5 minutes left? Okay. And also the issue of land ownership is also a problem. And we also have another scheme to help accelerate land acquisition. And we also realize that infrastructure projects are require a lot of investment and for quite a long time. And this is quite a challenge for banks to invest in this, because projects might take about 15 years, toll roads 40 years, and also due to the bank's limited capitals. But for us, this still constitutes a significant opportunity through, and we might be able to address the need through syndication. We have started on several syndication to finance toll road and maintenance through PPP approach. In terms of PPP financing, we are aware of the significant funding gap, and the government had taken initiatives to improve project worthiness. For a project with high worthiness, they can simply go to for B2B scheme. Most of the major toll roads in Java, we finance directly to the company without the support of PPP. Those with lower worthiness can be supported with government incentive. And banks can get involved in this, and there are several projects, as we have told earlier. We can get into the PPP for these projects that is technically sound but required government incentives. With RI less than 5%, it's difficult for us to enter this kind of projects, and this might be funded by the government through the state budget. On this last slide, in terms of economic outlook in 2022, we see a very strong optimism, both from this pandemic side, which we hope will continue to decline, along with the increase in economic growth. And this will lead to greater opportunities for banking to expand its financing, especially in infrastructure projects. In BSI, we have a number of unique financing schemes that might be suitable for infrastructure development, not only IMBT, but we also other kinds of financing scheme. We also realized that infrastructure financing, which had been shown in our portfolio to be at around 13 trillion, we still see this as our source of financing in the future. We hope that some projects can still enjoy government incentives through PPP, so that with collaboration with other banking sector and SMI, for example, we can work together toward realizing that infrastructure project. So that's what I can share from BSI. I hope that this will become food for more discussion later. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Kusman. Now, looking at the huge funding gap, the 4,000 trillion funding gap, with only 37% of government contribution. And we see that in BSI, infrastructure financing only makes up 8% of its total financing scheme. Do you have plans to expand that in next year? We haven't specifically planned on whether expanding it, increasing it to perhaps 20%, as you said. In comparison, we project that in 2022, we will grow overall to be, our growth will be around 7 to 8%. So in terms of the sectors that we finance, I think it will basically we will basically grow the same as the banking sector, so around 7 to 8% for the infrastructure. So do you have any projects in mind that you're going to support? We have several in our pipeline, including bridge refurbishment projects. This is quite a big project. And we also have toll road projects, including repackage projects, toll road projects. And we are also in the pipeline to finance the building of airports, and we are looking to do more financing in Pelindo, in ports, maritime ports. We also have several hot pipelines in several PPP programs in road maintenance. Next, I'm going to talk to Pak Andre. You said that the banks that are offering financing, and now that we have investment board and they are going into various projects, will PII be involved in this?
Thank you for the question. Regarding our partners, INA, we engage in several discussions, and there are need from members of their consortium asking that we guarantee the project, and we are still discussing it. We are trying to identify the correct or suitable scheme, because the projects are about to be sold by their previous owner, covering toll road. So we are at the stage of discussing it with them, and hopefully we could assist them as well. Thank you. And now we will go to Pak Johannes Edward. You mentioned that steel import is quite huge. And then at the same time, there's an increasing export of steel. And Pak Luhut mentioned that for export could reach up to $21 billion US. And my question, what about the potential export in Spindo? Yes, well, for export market, as I mentioned earlier, we have enormous potential. And our product already received UL and FM certification, and it is required if you want to enter the Canadian and US market. So we already have that certificate and could increase our export. Currently, our barrier, as mentioned by Pak Arif, is logistical aspect, container-wise. So we want to definitely increase our export. And then with the current economic growth that we're having, we see that we have an even greater prospect. Because the steel industry, people are often misguided in tolerance, because if we ordered steel 1 millimeter bar, there always tolerance, and sometimes we receive 0.08, rarely precise. So as an example, in Spindo, we have marking. I don't know if you could see it or not. So we always leave a mark on our product. And here is different from other local products. So here 20 by 40 by 0.20. Now, this is the exact measurement. So our steel bars, we have measurement in each of them. So meaning the SNI standard for other products is not that precise. Yes, you're right. Because for steel, it is relevant with its strength. And sometimes people say that, okay, a level of tolerance, I can live with that. It's no big deal, but it's wrong. We have to be precise, especially regarding the product that we're making. I see. And now we have several questions from the floor. Yes, but we have incoming questions. And here, questions directed to you, Pak Johannes, from Aurel Isaura. And because currently we are talking about green economy, sustainable development, and the question from Isaura, whether steel industry in Indonesia, including in Spindo, already follow sustainability principle. And before you answer, we also have question for Pak Andri from Mr. Mustakima. And question for Pak Andre, what about the potential of infrastructure development during COVID-19 pandemic? And what sort of sector that could be highlighted next year that could contribute towards Indonesian economic development? All right, thank you for the question. Now, the answer is anticipation. And actually, last year, ESG, not only sustainability, but ESG, environmental, social, and governance are truly important elements. And we at Spindo, we have prepared ourselves for that. We have installed solar panel in 2 of our plants, and we plan to cover this in every plant, and we could save up to 5 tons of carbon. And we also urge our partners to do the same, so they could utilize green economy and also save energy. So this is very important, and it's compliance. Thank you. So meaning you could anticipate this. So this is another urgency. Thank you. And now we have question from BSI. Now, Pak Kusman, when we're talking about your institution, where you provide financing for infrastructure development, and question from Pak Wibowo. BSI, do you use some sort of parameter when you finance certain infrastructure, and what sort of project that BSI financing? Thank you, Pak Wibowo, for the question. As I mentioned earlier, that our portfolio in infrastructure project mostly are in toll road projects. And we also have several projects concerning electricity. And we also assisted in Angkasa Pura Airport Development Project. And from the banking sector, we could go and assist any project as long as the project is feasible. Feasible here and bankable means that from the cash flow aspect, that they could be profitable. And apart from the toll road and electricity projects, we also assist with other infrastructure projects. And I know there are a wide range of projects. So road maintenance, and for other types of project, we see that they also have potentials. For example, in clean water facility and irrigation projects as well. Another project would be maintenance and also repair of bridges, several bridges all across Indonesia. Now, these are the projects that we have in our pipeline. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we close, I would like to invite all panelists to convey the closing statements. And then Pak Andre, Pak Kusmaniandi, and Pak Yohanes. Yes, thank you so much. So here, I'm indeed grateful for this Economic Outlook Forum because it is a valuable forum for us to share information, knowledge, and also share our enthusiasm. Because we need to work together to increase the national development, especially during COVID-19 pandemic. And we from PII, as the extension of Ministry of Finance, we are ready to work with all stakeholders together with Pak Yohanes. So we could help your supplier, how you could distribute your products. And also, Pak Kusman, we are ready to engage in collaboration with BSI. And Pak Heri, of course, we will continue to support projects from Ministry of Public Works and Public Housing. Right. Thank you. Pak Kusmaniandi. Yes, thank you. Here, I'm indeed grateful for the invitation. And we from Bank Syariah Indonesia, we convey our utmost gratitude because in this forum, we could share various knowledge, and we would like to maintain our position to support various government development projects. And here, we receive enormous support from Pak Heri Zuna's ministry, and especially regarding KPBU projects, and from BSI. After we engage in merger, we have increased capital capability, and therefore we could assist many partners, many projects, and we could assist a wide scale of financing project. And we wish to become more active in supporting various syndication amongst Sharia banking sector. This could be a good capital to assist in financing various infrastructure projects. I guess that is all from BSI. So let's keep up the spirit, enthusiasm to support Indonesian national development. Thank you, Pak Kusmaniandi. And now, Pak Yohanes, the floor is yours. Thank you. First, I convey my utmost appreciation to BeritaSatu Media Holding for organizing this important event, and to all panelists, thank you so much for sharing the information. And I'm more enthusiastic now because we are ready to tighten our collaboration, because here we as supplier, we definitely need partners from the financing sector and other sectors. So we need to intensify our commitment, our consistency to work together so that the benefit of our hard work could be felt by the public. And I also would like to give my sincere gratitude for the invitation to speak in this forum. And we realize that there are several projects that are withholding their payment or delayed in their payment. And here I request the assistance from the banking sector so that they could smooth this process, and then we could continue in assisting future development. And we sincerely hope that for several materials, we don't want to rely on import any longer. And in fact, we want to intensify our export, especially the added value product that we're exporting. That is all. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Pak Kusmaniandi, Pak Yohanes, and Pak Arif. Now, the infrastructure development lead to the increased welfare of the people. And as mentioned in our theme, we need to accelerate the infrastructure development so that the greater public could benefit from our hard work. And in order to do this, we need collaboration, engage in synergy from various stakeholders. So hopefully we could implement all of our plans smoothly. So thank you to all of our panelists. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our discussion with session 1. I would like to convey my appreciation to Ajaib, our sponsor, Ron System, Mayora Group, PT Timah Industry, Steel Pipe Industry, Telkom, King Coil, Waskita, Wilser, and MMA Mobile, Association. Hope to see you again in second session with the theme of National Transportation Development Acceleration. We have keynote speaker from Bapak Budi, Minister of Transport, and then speakers, Bapak Irfan from Garuda Indonesia, Ibu Ira from ASDP Indonesia, Pak Yuliandra from Citylink, and Pak Muhammad Kamaluddin from Jaklingko. So thank you so much for your kind attention, and we'll see you in the second session.